In this video, we're going to handle browser refresh. So we have a little problem, and you may have noticed this already. If we add products to the cart, then we refresh the browser page, we actually lose products in the cart. Yikes. And so our cart goes to 0. Not good. The same problem happens when we add products to the cart, then log in. We lose products in the cart. Again, not good. So let me show you a quick demo of this issue just so you can kind of see it real time. So we're in our application here. And let's go ahead and add some items to our cart. We can see we have X number of items in our cart right now. That looks good. And then if I go over and refresh the browser or reload the page, then, oh, notice up here, the cart is empty on page refresh. Terrible, awful. Now let's add some more items to our cart. So we have 3 items here in the cart. Now let's go and do a login. And then once we're logged in, and we can look up top and again, the cart is empty after login. Awful, bad, yuck, I don't like it. So we need to solve this problem. And here's one possible solution. So we can keep track of the cart products using client-side browser web storage. HTML5 introduced this idea of the web storage API, where we basically store data in the browser using key value pairs, and it's similar to cookies, but it provides a more intuitive API. And it also requires a modern web browser that supports HTML5, but most browsers out now support HTML5. Now, this solution that I'm showing you is actually based on a solution provided by Matt Seymour. Matt's one of our students. He saw this issue and he created a solution and posted it in the QA discussion forum. I saw the solution. I'm like, wow, this looks really good. And other students also saw his solution. So I said, hey, Matt, this is a great solution. Is it okay to add this to the course? And Matt replied, sure, no problem. So that's awesome. So thanks a lot, Matt, for helping out with this solution. Now, there's 2 types of web storage that we can use. There's session storage, where the data is stored in the web browser's memory. And there's also local storage. The data is stored on the client-side computer. So let's talk a bit more about session storage. So it stores the data in the web browser session memory. So data is never sent to the server. Now, one thing that's important here, when they say browser session, they're referring to the web browser session. It's only client-side. Don't confuse this with back-end HTTP session. All right, these are 2 separate things. There's no relationship between the 2. So again, web browser session basically just means the client-side memory of the web browser. So each web browser tab has its own session, and data is not shared between the web browser tabs. And once the web browser tab is closed or the browser is exited, then the data is no longer available. So only for in-memory while that given browser tab is running. Now let's take a look at local storage. So local storage stores the data locally on the client web browser computer. The data is never sent to the server. The data is available to tabs of the same web browser for the same origin. So the app must read the data again, normally with a browser refresh. The data persists even if the web browser is closed. So if you close the browser and start it again, you can still access the same data. And there's no expiration date on the data. And also you can clear the data using either JavaScript code or clearing the web browser cache. So data scoping. So the data is scoped to a given origin. So only pages from the same origin can access the data. Well, what's an origin? Well, an origin is a combination of the protocol, the host name, and the port. So here's an example of a same origin. So we have HTTP:/localhost:4200 equals the same localhost 4200. That's the exact same origin, same protocol, same host name, same port. Now here's a different origin. So we have localhost 4200 is not equal to localhost 8080. And the reason here is because they have different ports. So even though they have the same host name, They're running on different ports, so that means different origin. And also the protocols. The unsecure HTTP compared to the secure HTTPS, those are different protocols. All right, so to have the same origin, the protocol, host name, and port must match. And again, only pages from the same origin can access the data. So this prevents one website like CNN.com from accessing data from another website like Apple.com. And a bit more here on local storage. So for local storage, data is not shared between different web browsers. For example, Chrome cannot access the local storage of Firefox. So on the right-hand side, we have Firefox and its local storage. Chrome cannot access any of the local storage data for a different web browser. Now here's some factors to consider. So data in web storage is stored as plain text, so it's not encrypted. So don't use it for any sensitive info such as credit card numbers, etc. And also be aware that power users may tinker with files on their computer. In general, your app should be resilient to still work if storage is not available. The user may clear their browser cache. Your app should still use reasonable defaults, and that's something that you'd have to code for accordingly.